Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Casket Minds podcast, your weekly destination for all things gaming, including the latest gaming news, in-depth reviews, impressions, and much more. I'm your host, Mitch, alongside Drew.
What it do?
Just living that E3 lifestyle. You know what I mean? We're in the middle of E3 season, as it were. And Summer Game Fest just wrapped up last night. Very exciting things to come out of that. A much better showcase than the PlayStation one, but we'll get into that and much more in episode 4 of the Casket Minds podcast. On this podcast, we're going to be breaking down the Summer Games Fest 2023 and rating it, giving our official Casket Minds rating. And later on in the episode, after we break down everything and let you know what was there, in case you missed anything, we're going to be doing our Xbox Showcase predictions, which is Sunday. As of the time of your listening to this is 2 days at 1 p.m. Eastern time, Western time. That is trademarked by me, so don't think about using it. And then we're just going to do some quick Ubisoft Forward predictions and probably a little bit of Capcom discussion as well, since that conference is also Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember which one. It's one of the two, but it's not like a big enough event to do predictions for, so we're just gonna quickly jot down some thoughts and impressions whenever that does happen. Yeah, but as of now, that's what this episode's gonna be about. So before we get into the breakdown of the Summer Game Fest 2023, I want to thank you guys for all the support and all the love that you guys have been showing us over the past few weeks. Like I said earlier, this is episode 4, and our numbers and subscribers and likes and everything keeps growing at an exponential rate that we are very happy with. So thank you guys all so much for the love and support. Continue to do that by liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell, just so you know when we're releasing. We're typically going to release on Fridays, subject to change, but normally we should be in your Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube feeds on Fridays. Usually probably mid to late afternoonish, would you say?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. All right. So without further ado, let's get into this episode of the Casket Minds podcast. So, Drew, what are your baseline impressions of Summer Game Fest?
Yeah, so I definitely had my expectations a little bit more tempered this time around compared to the PlayStation Showcase. And for any of you who listened to our predictions for the Summer Game Fest, you can definitely see the difference between our PlayStation Showcase predictions. So I had much more tempered expectations. But I gotta say, I think I was pretty satisfied overall with this showcase. I mean, it goes without saying that there definitely was some pacing issues. But overall, I thought it was a really solid showcase, and I think it might honestly be the best Summer Game Fest yet. I think part of that definitely helped with having the in-person live stage and everything. It really makes it feel like those classic E3 days. So that was really awesome and just added a lot to the experience. And there's a lot of great games that were shown off, especially some really big surprises too. A lot of release dates, some really solid gameplay demos, basically everything that you'd want from a showcase that the PlayStation Showcase didn't have. So yeah, overall I really liked it. What did you think?
I really liked it as well. And for the first hour or so, I thought that it was an almost flawless showcase. It was back to back with games. They brought out game developers for in-depth looks at upcoming games. For example, we'll get to it in a second, but they brought Ed Boon out, the creator of Mortal Kombat, to showcase the new mechanics and systems and the assisted characters, the cameo characters, as they call them, probably with a K instead of a C. Uh,
Yeah.
But yeah, him coming out is a big thing, because if anyone knows anything about Mortal Kombat or Ed Boon, he usually doesn't come out to these things. So him coming out and talking about how they're rebooting the universe with Liu Kang being the Earthrealm protector instead of Raiden, and having those roles swapped was very cool, not only for Mortal Kombat itself, but for the gaming industry at large to see these developers come out and talk about games. And he wasn't the only one that did that for the games, which we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, in terms of pacing, it was great until about like the 2/3 mark, I would say, and then it went downhill quickly in terms of interesting games. Just everything that was before it was, I almost said astronomically better, but at the same time, I understand that there's a market for these games that we might not necessarily care about, so I don't want to say that.
That's fair.
But yeah, let's dive right into it. So before we get into the game by game little breakdown, what would you give this rating wise? Where are you sitting at?
Yeah, so that's kind of like what I'm torn on. Because I'm torn between two ratings because I think it was a like honestly, I think I almost say that it was a great showcase. Especially considering the past few Summer Game Fest shows. And then just showcases in general in the past few years. So I'm like, do I hold it to the standard of like recent years, or do I hold it to the standard of like what E3 and like all the big gaming showcases were before like the pandemic and everything? So I'm kind of like torn. Like originally I was just gonna go with a 3.5, but the more I think about it, I'm almost leaning towards a 4. Because I definitely think that this was a really good showcase. And again, like it had those big showstopper games that you want. It had a really interesting surprise that we'll get into that opened the show. And we got a release date for freaking Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which was awesome. So, I mean, there was a lot of great stuff in here, and then the great gameplay demos that we got for a few different games. So, I don't know. Part of me is almost leaning towards a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, so I'm in the exact same spot as you. We talked about this yesterday, right after the event, and we weren't as high on it as we were. Or let me rephrase that. We're higher on it now than we were at first because we had just gotten through the lull of the last little bit, and it doesn't help the last little bit wasn't the best part of the showcase because then that's like your lasting impression of the thing.
Yeah.
Which it ended with Final Fantasy Rebirth. I guess spoilers for later, but if you're listening to this, you've probably already seen the footage by now, or at least seen the headline of Final Fantasy Rebirth getting the release window. But that saved the latter half of the showcase for me. And like you said, this is definitely the best Summer Game Fest by far. I don't even think it's comparable. By the only thing that I would say is maybe 2021. I think that was a good showcase as well.
For
and
sure.
It ended with Elden Ring,
Yeah.
which is massive. FromSoft's biggest game, obviously massive in the industry, and changed the way that some people view Soulsborne games.
For sure.
But even Elden Ring, that's a massive thing, right? But Final Fantasy VII is arguably bigger, and I would say it's definitely bigger because it's Final Fantasy the original is considered to be one of the best video games of all time.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the first one remake was a Game of the Year contender for a lot of outlets. One of my favorite games of 2020 as well. So them setting the bar here with that only means that this showcase and this festival of games is only going to get better year after year. You have to assume. So it's gonna be fun to see where Summer Game Fest is next year because I think that this was a great showcase. I would give it a 4 out of 5 as well. I think that it has everything that you'd ever want in a showcase. Everything that you wouldn't want in a showcase, but that's showcases in general, right? Like they showed the Samsung gaming hub thing for their TVs. That has to happen to pay the bills, right? So that you can have Final Fantasy, so you can have the Alan Wake, the Mortal Kombat's. And as much as that isn't my thing, like we were watching with a few of our friends, and we were just talking and stuff, and that makes it a better experience. And I think that the in-person event obviously makes it a better experience as well. But yeah, I enjoyed it thoroughly. It's a lot better than PlayStation's. and it set the bar for what Xbox now has to do on Sunday to be the best of the best when it comes to showcases during the Summer Game Fest window.
Yep. For sure.
So, what was at the Summer Game Fest? Well, that's what we're here to talk about. So, it opened up, and I think that this was a good move because there's a game called The Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, right? And they've been teasing this remake for almost almost 4 years now. Um, that game is in development hell at the last layer of development hell.
Yeah, they
And so
basically, for those of you who don't know, they basically completely reset development on the game. When they showed it off, was it last year or the year before? I can't remember off the top of my head. But when they showed gameplay, it was not at the standards that people were expecting. And so it got a lot of backlash. And Ubisoft has been having a lot of misses the past few years. So they're doing a lot of quality control. And they essentially got a completely different team to reboot the development on the game. And just a few weeks ago, one of the not the CEO, one of the Ubisoft execs, basically came out and said like, "Hey, Forgotten Sands remake is not going to be shown this year. Like we're still in development. It's going along like really good right now. We're just not ready to show it." So yeah, just wanted to give some clarification there.
yeah, and when they opened with they opened with a unique art style, and I immediately was like, hey, that's Prince of Persia, and I knew that it wasn't going to be the Sands of Time. And luckily it wasn't. It's a pretty cool trailer. I would suggest this is one of the few that I would suggest going to watch, because it's almost looks like a 2D side scrolling Metroidvania, and that is what I want. I never played Prince of Persia heavy, but I am a newcome, not a newcome. I've been a fan for a long time actually of Metroidvanias. But I've recently started playing the Metroid series. That's why I wanted to throw in that little caveat. But yeah, I'm very much intrigued by this Prince of Persia game. I think that it's got a unique art style in terms of like the overworld and even the character design, but I want to see the gameplay straight up because there's a bunch of
Yeah.
gameplay snippets in this, but it's broke up into like also like CG trailer elements, and those I don't care about. I just want to see like straight up gameplay, like
Yeah.
what it's like from like either room to room or like set piece to set piece. That's what I'm interested in. But the exciting thing is that this opened the show and kind of set the tone. And
Yes.
I think it's incredibly important to come out, and the first game that you show is always the most important to me. It doesn't have to be your biggest game, but it has to be an important game.
Yep.
And to bring back Prince of Persia in this new way, I think is bold and ambitious, and I like it. And not only do they do that, but they dated it, and
Yeah.
it's for January 18th, 2024.
Which is crazy. Like, for one, I don't remember seeing any leaks or rumors really about this game. So
no.
The fact that they just somehow kept this quiet, which like Ubisoft is known for having a lot of their stuff leaked. So,
that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that with the Ubisoft Forward, like Ubisoft is terrible, like concealing a secret.
exactly.
Like, their games are known that like they're like getting reworked or rebooted or delayed or they're coming out. Like we know it before probably they even know it, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly. So yeah, like that was just it was super surprising, and the gameplay snippets that we got of the game looks awesome. It looks very like fast paced. It has all of the elements of Prince of Persia, like the parkour and stuff like that. And then it has like the classic side scrolling like Metroidvania style gameplay that the older games had. So yeah, I'm honestly like really looking forward to this one, and I like speaking of forward, I hope that it's gonna have some sort of gameplay demo at the Ubisoft Forward in a few days.
Yeah, that was a nice little segue there. I like that.
Yeah.
There was a few of those in the conference that we'll talk about in a little bit as well. But yeah, I'm also looking forward to that. And speaking of things that we are looking forward to, we've talked ad nauseum about Mortal Kombat 1, so we won't bore you too much with the Mortal Kombat talk, but I do want to say that this seems to be and could potentially be the GOAT of Mortal Kombat. I mean,
Yeah.
this game looks absolutely phenomenal on every single level.
Yes.
The cameo characters, the arenas, the design of the characters, the character roles, everything about this game looks 10 out of 10 to me.
Yeah, the graphic fidelity is absolutely insane. Like you're talking about, like the stages, the environments are incredible. Like this is an actual next gen game. Like when I saw that, I was like, yeah, this is next gen. This is new gen. So that's like really exciting. One thing I noticed on rewatching the trailer, like after the showcase, the cinematography, like the way that they have it like shot for like the cutscenes is really awesome. It looks like an actual movie with the way that they have the camera placed and everything. So I'm beyond excited for this game. I mean, we've talked about it before. I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan, so I cannot wait to get my hands on it.
Luckily, you do not have to wait for too long because this game comes out in September, and I am counting down the days because
Sir.
besides Starfield, which we'll get to in a little bit, that's the only September release date that I can think of off the top of my head. That's going to be big. So, and I think it comes out like a week or two after Starfield, if I'm not mistaken. So, it'll be a nice little break after, exploring worlds or whatever you do in Starfield. But we'll find out in a couple of days what that's all about.
Yep.
But back to the Summer Game Fest. The next game shown was Path of Exile 2. They said that we're going to find out more July 28th. If you're into the ARPGs like Diablo or Baldur's Gate, this is definitely one that you should look out for if you aren't already.
Yeah.
The lighting on this one really surprised me, like the moonlighting, in particularly.
It definitely looks like it has ray tracing on it. The graphics were
100%.
really solid.
Yeah, looks so good.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll keep our eye out on that, and whatever it is, July 28th, we'll keep you updated on that as well. Because I'm gonna keep my eye on this one because this one is something that can hit that Diablo itch whenever I'm done with Diablo, which probably won't be for a long time because I'm obsessed with it right now. But yeah, looking forward to that one. And speaking of looking forward to more things, Drewby's thing that he's been playing a lot of recently, Street Fighter 6 announced a collab with Exoprimal.
Which I will say, what I've seen from the Exoprimal game, I'm not I'm not like really into it. But the trailer that they did for the Street Fighter stuff was so bizarre and weird, and like we couldn't figure out what it was for like the longest time.
Nope.
But it looks awesome. Like I'm down for what they're doing. And at the end of the trailer, it said Capcom Collab 1. So I mean, like that could just mean that they're doing collabs in general, but to me, that kind of seemed like, oh, they have Capcom in the title right there. Does that mean that they're just gonna be doing Capcom, like, collabs with Capcom titles? Like that would be super sick. Like it would be cool if we got some Monster Hunter content, Street Fighter, or Resident Evil. Even like characters from other Capcom games. That would be super cool, and that would be like a nice little like callback to Marvel versus Capcom kind of stuff if they did something like that. So yeah, I'm like super excited to see what all this content has in store, or what this game has in store, content wise, because so far it's really good. I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's weirdly enough, it's like a really nice casual game to like kind of just get into when I don't feel like playing Diablo or something like that. So yeah, pretty cool trailer.
Yeah, the trailer is really cool. It opens with like a mech version of Ryu.
Yeah.
And from there it just gets a little bit wilder. But yeah, like Drew said, Capcom Collab 1 coming fall 2023. I haven't gotten to Street Fighter yet, and I probably won't because I'm an MK guy, but we'll definitely keep you updated on more to come for that. This is probably one of my favorite, it's top 3 moments for me when it comes to the Summer Game Fest. So we knew that this was happening, but not in the way that it is happening. So a couple days, maybe a weeks ago now, Dead by Daylight announced that Nicolas Cage was coming to Dead by Daylight. And I think it's safe to assume that most people thought he was going to be a villain, mainly because, I mean, he looks like a villain, but also he was just in Renfield where he played Dracula. He sort of looks like a human version of Dracula in like the in-game footage that we've seen, but he's a survivor. And Nicolas Cage came out yesterday to have some like dialogue with Jeff Keighley, and it was wholesome and awesome and everything you could ever want out of Nicolas Cage.
And
And I know
also some great puns from Nicolas Cage too.
100%. And it's not one of these scenarios where an actor comes out and he's in a video game and he's reading a teleprompter. He looked at Jeff Keighley the entire time, and if he wasn't, he was looking at the audience. Like everything was off the cuff, just him being him, knowing what the game is, like him being 100% genuine. Very cool stuff. He is coming to the game July 25th. He is playing a hyper realized version of himself. He said the actor Nick Cage. He recorded all of the lines. He's recorded the grunts. Everything that you hear for his character is Nicolas Cage authentically. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and honestly, I hope this is the start of Nicolas Cage being in more games.
I mean, honestly, I mean, he said that he would love to do more. So it's up to you now, game devs. Hit him up, get him in your games.
For real.
So the next game is a game that was at the Xbox showcase. Actually, it was at the Xbox showcase, I believe, and Summer Game Fest last year. Witchfire got new gameplay, a short little gameplay trailer. I almost said trailer, whatever that is.
That's a good question.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll trademark it or do something with it. I think Witchfire looks incredible. And they didn't have a long trailer, which I appreciated. It was kind of like, hey, Witchfire's coming. And they gave us a release date, actually, for early access, which is September 20th. And I just said earlier that I didn't know much about September release dates. And here I am reading Witchfire. So that's a game I'm looking forward to, though. It's like a first-person, like, fantasy-ish type of game. Didn't you say yesterday that you think it's like a Souls thing? Like Souls-ish or no?
No, that was Remnant that I was talking about. That's like Souls.
Okay.
But this definitely reminded me of like almost like a Doom clone, which isn't like a negative thing.
Yes,
like
100%.
Doom 2016, Doom Eternal. It kind of has that like classic feeling, more arcadey type of gameplay, but it's in like this gothic like fantasy world, and it looks super awesome. So yeah, that was one whenever they first showed it off last year, whenever it was, that was one that like really caught my eye. And so it's really exciting that's going to be finally coming out this year.
And the good thing about that is that it reminds me more of Eternal than it does 2016, because I think 2016 is more like the arcade version, but I think Eternal turned that up like to like the 11th degree.
Yeah.
And this looks like Eternal in the sense of like you have to constantly keep moving, dodge things like poison, enemy attacks, and it looks really cool. I would highly suggest going to watch this trailer. It's short. I think it's under 2 minutes, but it's worth your time.
For sure.
Something that might not be worth your time because you probably do not own VR. But once again, it was shown at the PlayStation showcase. Crossfire Sierra Squad, which is like the first-person shooter VR game, looks really good, especially for VR. It's coming in August, but not everyone has VR, and a lot of people don't care about VR.
Didn't need to see this trailer again. I mean, this was a different trailer, but we didn't need to see this game so close to the PlayStation showcase, which was like just last week or the week before, whenever it was. So I mean,
it was 2 weeks ago, but even then,
yeah, that's like, come on now.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. I don't understand why they did that, but I do, money and trying to sell it. But that's the politics of the industry.
Sure.
But yeah, that's what it was there. If you care about VR, good trailer, but that's a very niche thing, a very expensive thing to get into. So if that's you, it's there. It's not us, so we're not there. But things that we might be there for. Remnant 2 is out July 25th. And it's
Yeah,
co-op.
yeah. I did it. I wonder. I don't even know if it already had a release date or release window or not. So I
I
was
don't
like
think it did.
really, I was really surprised that it's coming out in July already. Like I thought that would be like something maybe a little later on in the year. But yeah, I've played not an extensive amount of the first game, but I played enough to where I really like the gameplay a lot. Um, I just didn't have enough people to play it with, so I kind of just gave up on it. But it's a really like cool little like double A game. And the sequel looks to be improving all of the flaws of the first one and just making it even more expansive than the first game. I thought this was a really cool trailer. The fact that it's coming out in July is awesome, and it looks like it'll be a really fun co-op game. So yeah, I'm really excited to get my hands on this one too.
Yeah, it's an incredible trailer. That's another one that I would highly suggest going to watch. It's a third person over the shoulder shooter. Very cool. Um, I don't even know what I would akin it to, but very good stuff. Like I said, this first half is banger after banger in my opinion. Even if it's like even if it's not like the huge AAA first party stuff. These are great third party things that appeal to a lot of people.
Yep.
So, um, yeah. Speaking of things that appeal to a lot of people but don't necessarily appeal to me, Sonic. Sonic has a new game. It's called Sonic Superstars. It's like a traditional Sonic and a like a I don't even know how you would what do you call like Mario Party, like just party games.
Yeah, I guess yeah, party games like it. It looks like it has everything. Honestly,
It really
it,
does.
it
So if
even
you're
has some like 3D segments in the game, which was like really interesting. So
Yeah, I don't even know how to explain this to you other than just to like it feels like a good combination of all the good Sonic stuff.
yeah,
Uh and that's from someone who doesn't necessarily like Sonic. I think Sonic is fine. I'm more of a Mario guy.
yeah,
But if you're into Sonic, I would highly suggest watching this trailer because it has a lot of stuff in it. And I don't necessarily know everything that's in it because I'm not a Sonic fan, but the good news is, if you are a Sonic fan, this is coming fall 2023. No concrete release date, but a nice little window for the Sonic fans.
yep.
Um, the next game shown was Honkai Star Rail. Uh, it's an anime game. It's coming to PS5 quarter 4 2023, and that's about all I can tell you. I don't even remember the gameplay of this one. Do you?
I think it's a turn-based like RPG or something like that. I just remember seeing turn-based combat. So
Uh,
yeah,
We're gonna get to an anime game with turn-based combat later, so we'll give that game the spotlight, I suppose. If turn-based anime games are your thing, I know that this is a big franchise for that community, but um, I can't do that justice, so I don't know. Um,
yeah.
but something that I do know something about, Drewby, is Lies of P, and it got a great trailer with a lot of gameplay.
Yes.
It got a release date of September 19th, once again proving that I know nothing about what I say. And I literally said at the beginning of the show that I didn't know many September release dates, and then I have two that come out like back to back. Because I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure the other one was September 20th, right? That I
think
said earlier?
I think so. Yeah.
Uh, me. Anyways, Lies of P got a demo. It's out now on all platforms. So please
Lies
go
of
play that.
P, more like lies of Mitch because he lied about the month of September having no games.
That is a fact. Um, I played 2 seconds of the demo because we were watching the Devolver thing, and I was chatting with Drewby and some friends, and I wanted to give that game more of my focus. But it's very steampunky. It's like Pinocchio, Bloodborne. Uh, very very cool, and I can't wait to play more.
Yeah.
Um,
The
Yeah,
gameplay in
September
the demo
19th.
was like very smooth too. I played it
Yes,
for about
very
like
much so.
15 minutes or so, and yeah, like it's really solid. So I can't wait.
Yes. And just as a heads up, because I know that Soulsborne stuff isn't for everyone, this is a Soulsborne game, very much so.
Yeah,
It's the aesthetic of it is very Bloodborne. I said that before, but I'll keep saying it because Bloodborne's one of my favorite games of all time, and this game being anywhere close to it would be a very high compliment, and I can't wait to play more.
for sure.
So next up is Sandland, which is from one of the creators of Dragon Ball. You can tell in the art style, but I don't know what this game is because one second it's like Dragon Ball ish, and then the next minute it's like Mad Max. You're in like a Borderlands like vehicle blowing stuff up. I don't know what this game is. It said just to stay tuned. It's coming to last gen, current gen, PC. Um, but yeah, I don't know what this is, so I think that's all I can say about it for now.
I
Um,
think I did see something about it. Like it's supposed to be like an open world, like action adventure game or something. Um,
okay,
and it's based on Toriyama, one of the creators of Dragon Ball. It's based on one of his mangas for all of you manga readers out there. I don't personally indulge in that type of storytelling, but yeah, like this wasn't something that I would necessarily play. I mean, I do like Dragon Ball, but
yeah, me too.
I'm not familiar with Sandland, so yeah, probably not something I'd play. But that being said, it wasn't a bad trailer or anything. I thought it was a pretty solid trailer. And for the fans of that manga out there, I'm sure they're like more than excited to play this. So
Oh, 100%.
more power to them. I think that's really cool that they're getting a new Toriyama game.
Yeah, I know nothing about this manga or anything. I do like some manga, but that's another podcast for another time. But um, yeah, I'm sure the fans are. I'm happy for the fans because I've never heard of this IP, and it coming out is probably a big deal to them. Um, so yeah, that's pretty cool. So a showcase was announced within a showcase, and it's Annapurna's and oh boy, Annapurna. Their showcase is on June 29th. They showcased a lot of their games that are going to be there. If you don't know who they are, I think they most recently published Stray. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah.
that the
They
last
published
game?
Stray, I think. Yeah.
Hyper Light Drifter sequel appears to be there, and a handful of others. So June 29th, mark your calendars. It looks to be really good. Um, I equate them to like the A24 of the gaming industry. Not because they both start with A's, but because they're both like an indie-ish um, and make a bunch of good stuff. So
Annapurna
yeah,
also does film too, if you didn't know.
do they really? What have
Yeah.
they done?
Yeah. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, they've delved into like other medias, so
Okay, well, the more you know, I guess. Um, yeah. So this is, I wouldn't say this is the turn of the event, but this is like two back-to-back games that I think have interesting concepts, but again, they aren't for me. Throne of Liberty was announced. I believe this is an MMORPG.
yeah, that's what it looked like.
Um, at the end, it said players wanted signed up for the tech test. It is on next gen. Actually, I don't even know if we call it just this generation at this point because
Yeah,
we're 2.5 years in. So
that's fair.
actually a little bit more. So it's for current gen PS5, the Xbox Series, and on Steam. It's coming from Amazon Games. Um, it's a CG trailer. I don't think there's any gameplay in this one. If you're interested, of course, there is always looking at the trailer. Warhaven is the next game. Same concept. It's a, I believe this is also an MMORPG. This is a game that we were talking about with all of our friends yesterday of how it's super cool to have all these players on the screen, but then you have health bars galore on the screen as well, and it's so like fogged and clouded together that it isn't appealing to me. If
Yeah.
there's an option to turn that off in the settings, I would probably try this out, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because I think it's a cool thing. I just hate a cluttered, like, I'm looking at a screenshot right now, right? And there is 15 health bars in this screenshot of
Yeah.
people not even like in the combat with you. And I'm like, I don't need that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, we can play for free. It's on Steam Next Fest from June 19th to June 26th. So about a week and a half from now, you can try it out if you're a PC gamer. Yeah, as of right now, it looks like it's only coming out for Steam, so we'll see how that goes, I suppose. Do you have any interest in that game?
Not really. Because it's gonna be a free tech test, I think I'll try it out.
Yeah, same.
Because maybe the game's actually really fun, and I'm not gonna knock it until I try it. So, yeah.
If it has the health bar thing taken away, that takes my biggest complaint away, and I mean, it
For
looks like
sure.
a fun game outside of that, but that just breaks the game for me. It breaks my immersion, and I just don't like it.
I agree.
But speaking of things that we're going to like, Drew, Alan Wake 2
Yes,
gameplay
sir.
was shown. Sam Wake came out himself.
Wait, did you say Sam Wake?
Yeah.
Nice. That was good.
I saw someone say that once, and it's always stuck with me. So that's just what I call him.
That's great.
But he came out and he talked to Jeff, just like Nick did, and they were talking about the game. They showed just a few minutes, a small snippet of gameplay. What they showed was incredible. But if you watch that first announcement trailer thing they did a couple weeks ago at PlayStation's thing, it's just that small clip with the deer and the deer guy. I mean, it's very minimal, couple minutes at max.
Definitely felt like there should have been a little bit more gameplay to that demonstration, but it was awesome regardless.
Agreed. And they gave me RE2 vibes, and that's exactly what I need from that game.
Yeah. It looks like Alan Wake too. Like it has like that same
literally
kind of
it is Alan Wake too.
Yeah. Like, well, yeah. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, like, it's nice because it's been so long since the first game.
Yeah.
And you know how a lot of game developers are. They'll bring back a franchise and they'll like completely change the gameplay. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. So it's just nice that, like, yeah, this is Alan Wake 2, like, through and through, even though you can play as another character, and we mentioned her before. Her name is Saga. She's an FBI agent. The gameplay demonstration was gameplay of her character. One thing that Sam Wake did say is that you can play the game entirely as Alan Wake or entirely as Saga, or you can blend it between the two. You can do however many like missions as you want to as either one, which sounds really interesting, and it seems like there might be a lot of replay value behind that, because I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of story differences, because he kind of teased there's going to be a lot of surprises and like twists when you play as the two different characters. So that was like really exciting to hear about.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I was gonna do the same thing. And it makes it very intriguing, because if you play as one character alone versus like the 50-50 split, say for like what we're getting in Spider-Man 2 with Miles and Peter, there's obviously a story on both sides, so the replayability is there.
Yes.
So I think my first playthrough, I'll probably do like a 50-50 split, and then whichever character I'm vibing with more, I'll do that playthrough, and then the playthrough after that.
Yeah, exactly. Which is awesome. That kind of like calls it back to Resident Evil 2 again, where Resident Evil 2 you can play as Claire or Leon, and there's like 4 different playthroughs.
Yep, there's like an A, B for each. So if you play like Leon A, then you go play Claire A, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, very cool stuff. I am very much into that and the replayability of games, specifically single player. I'm a person that likes to platinum games and like try to 100% them if I love them. I think that's the highest compliment that I can give to a game or a developer. Sometimes I don't do it for the developer's sake. Sometimes it's for me. But regardless, I welcome replayability, and I imagine this game won't be super long. So if it's like an 8 to 12 hour experience, getting 30 something, almost 40 hours out of it will be great.
Yeah.
Good bang for your buck. Speaking of bang for bucks, you know what I mean? The ultimate segue. Banging for bucks. Warhammer Space Marine 2. It's a co-op campaign up to 3 players. Now, I've not played. That's almost a total lie again, Derby. I apologize.
Wow.
I've played a couple Warhammer games, but it's been like I played the original Vermintide, and then I played one that I'm blanking on. I think I played a third one that I don't remember. That was probably during the 360 days. But this game looks awesome. This looks like space version of Gears of War to me.
Yeah.
With a lot on the screen, and it looks like a game that shouldn't be real. It looks like a tech demo, but it's not. I like when I was watching it, I was expecting to be like, you know how they always put like a in-game footage, not actual realization of what the gameplay is or subject to change or whatever.
Yeah.
I was looking for that, but it never came. You're a big guy for you, the Bane meme from back in the day. There's a throwback for you. Anyways, memes aside, this game looks incredible. This is another one that I would suggest going to watch the trailer for, even if you don't like Warhammer games, because I'm obviously a huge Warhammer fan, as I've said.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But this game looks incredible. Like, and I know that I've said that multiple times at this point, but it really does look phenomenal.
Yeah.
And there's so much on the screen, and there's like a good contrast of colors to like the background palette. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It's cool because like there's a lot happening. There's a lot of enemies and stuff like that, but it's not noisy. It's not noisy like other games that we've mentioned before, where it's like, okay, that's actually like really ugly to look at, or that's like hard to like watch or play because there's too much going on. It's not like that. Like the Space Marine games aren't really like horde shooters, or like the first one isn't, but like this one kind of seems to be like going into that a little bit with the amount of enemies that were on screen. And I'm sure part of the decision behind that was making the campaign co-op, because the first one's not a co-op campaign. So they were probably like, hey, let's, bump up the amount of enemies. And I mean, like, if you're not a Warhammer fan, like, that like if you are a Warhammer fan, then you know that like Warhammer is just all about just massive battles and stuff like that, right? So
right.
It's cool that they're like really like pushing into that, and it's also a nice callback to some of the other Warhammer games where they have those horde shooters. You have the oh gosh, I can't remember what it's called. Is it Dark Tide, I think? The shooter that came out last year. It's like a Warhammer 40k horde shooter. And then you also have Vermintide, which is a Warhammer not 40k. It's not the sci-fi version. It's just like the full-on fantasy, where it's not a horde shooter, but it's a horde-like game where you have like fantasy like swords and stuff like that. So they're kind of like pulling in, I think, kind of some inspiration from both of those types of games and putting it into here. I love the first Space Marine game, and I've been waiting for a sequel for who knows how long now. Like, I honestly never thought we would get one, so the fact that it's even happening and it's gonna have 3-player co-op is super awesome.
Yep. And the good thing is that it's out this winter. I went on to Steam just to see, both to wish list it so that I'd get more information, but to also see if there's anything else posted on there since then.
Yeah.
So on Steam it says planned release date 2023. And yesterday they said this winter in the trailer. So that could be like a December release date if it is 2023, but if not, obviously you can expect it very early 2024.
For sure.
Again, go watch that trailer, because I think that even people, if you like I guess you don't have to play this multiplayer, but if you want to play like you're a big bad guy with a big gun and you want to shoot down some aliens and stuff, highly suggest doing that. But enough of Space Marine 2. we're gonna get into like one of the most unique indie games I've seen in a while. It's called Yes, Your Grace Snowfall. It's out 2024, and I think that this art direction is really unique. Um, it's very like pixely, but it's like high definition pixely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, there wasn't much to it. It was just very pretty to look at, very colorful, very good color palette. Um, it's like medievalish. I would highly recommend watching that short little. I think that's like a minute and a half trailer we got. Pretty cool though. But this next game was probably, well, it wasn't the biggest surprise there, but it's definitely one of them from the name alone. Uh, so it's from Saber, the developer Saber, but they collaborated with John Carpenter to make a zombie shooter game. It's an FPS. There's a lot of footage there, and it's kind of think like Back for Blood, Left for Dead-ish, without the clips so far. But there's vehicles because it looks to be massive in scale. There are tons of zombies in this game.
Yeah.
Lots of blood and gore. Very cool stuff. And
It's
with John
4-player
Carpenter's
co-op
involvement
as well.
Yeah, yeah. And with John Carpenter's involvement, that instantly got me because that's both incredible for the game industry and me because I'm a huge John Carpenter fan.
Exactly. I've been starving for like new John Carpenter content. I actually forgot. I think he like mentioned a while back that he was getting involved with like some sort of game. So that's
Same.
cool that we're like finally seeing what it is, and just the title and like the way that the dialogue worked in the trailer. It is like full on like 80s John Carpenter. It's like very self-aware. So I'm super excited for this one.
Yeah, when he announced that though, I was expecting like maybe he's doing a score or something for one, but nope, his name's in the title. It's called John Carpenter's Toxic Commando. Not a great name, but I like it. 2024 release date, so keep it tuned at Casket Minds because we'll be definitely we'll be covering that because we're big Carpenter fans here. From Toxic Commando, we go to a CG trailer only because they're really pushing these characters in Baldur's Gate 3. Another ARPG coming out August 31st. We knew that though because it's been an early release for a while. We knew the release date. They teased a new character. I missed who they teased. But if you're a big Baldur's Gate 3 fan, or just a Baldur's Gate fan in general, maybe that's cool for you. It didn't do much for me. I think the game looks cool, but they didn't show any more gameplay. So
I wish they would have had some gameplay, but also the game's been in early access for a few years now, and they've shown a lot of gameplay before. So I feel like that's probably why they didn't. But speaking of Baldur's Gate 3, we had a write-in from Darkside0513 on last week's episode. He commented, "I'd love to see more of Baldur's Gate 3. It's probably a given because Larian Studios is going to be there." Which, yes, it was, and we got a release date, so that's super exciting probably for you. And then he's also talking about that he's super interested to see what else is shown off by Jeff Keighley, since Jeff Keighley said there was like 3 to 4 like really big announcements, which we've already gone over some of them. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed the showcase. Definitely, if you're listening to this episode, let us know what you thought about it.
100%. And speaking of the things that that Jeff mentioned, he did mention there were going to be 3 or 4 major things that he thought that everyone would like. And this next game is it, because if you would have told me this was happening beforehand, I would have told you no freaking way. I wouldn't have thought that this would have been there, especially in the capacity that it was there. The next game they talked about was Spider-Man 2. Brian, I forget how to say his last name, so I'm not even going to attempt it, but the game director for Spider-Man, he also did Spider-Man 1. He's the same game director for Spider-Man 2. He came out and talked to Jeff Keighley. So within that first hour, you had 3 developers come out and talk and show their game more in Mortal Kombat 1, Alan Wake 2, and Spider-Man 2. I love this. I think that Jeff should definitely keep this up. But I think the coolest thing that they were, aside from the ending of it, of course, but when they came out and they were talking, he was talking about more details and stuff, and he was talking about some lore aspects. So he dropped that Eddie Brock is not Venom, that they wanted to tell a new story
Yeah.
with this Venom. And I got some thoughts and stuff, but I want to hold that off for another episode of the podcast because I think that could be a topic on its own.
Okay, for sure. Yeah.
So I want to talk about that later. But yeah, Eddie Brock is not Venom. There are more villains than just Craven and Venom, though they released 2 new key art pieces from the game. One of Venom flying through the air, chasing after Peter, and Miles about to punch him with lightning. Very cool stuff. And then it's both of them. Well, Peter's attacking Craven in the city. Miles is thunder punching someone up into the air. Very cool stuff. They announced and showed the box art, which is very reminiscent of the original with the red back case, Peter on the front with Miles beside him this time. But the coolest little part about the box art is not only does it look great beside the first one, they're both shooting their webs, but Peter's is black, and it has the symbiote wrapped around Peter's left arm.
Yeah.
With the web being black, and that's extraordinary. And I just now noticed that. So I noticed the symbiote, right? But I didn't notice the web itself was black. That's a nice little touch.
For sure.
So we thought it was weird that they would do this here, but delays and stuff happen, and at the time of the showcase, you have to get that 11 to 12 minute trailer out. They might have not thought that they were ready to announce a concrete date. Things are ever changing. COVID happens, and so development of the last one, things happen, right? You don't want to release a broken game because that's kind of the status quo that we're in now in 2023. Thank God Diablo didn't launch super broken, but a lot of big games have.
Like Gollum.
Oh my God, we don't even. Oh my God, another game that shouldn't exist, but it does. But that's another topic for another conversation. we should probably talk about that. Actually, we'll talk about it in a few minutes because we got another announcement that I forgot about until just now.
Oh yeah, that's true.
But Drew and I weren't expecting this here. One of my predictions that we'll get into and after we get done breaking this down for the showcase was I predicted that Demon Souls was coming to PC because of the leak. That was not there. I was not expecting Sony to bring Spider-Man here, but I'm glad they did because Drewby, they announced the release date. It's out October 20th, 2023. We are almost 4 months away. What are your excitement levels?
My excitement levels are through the roof.
Same.
I loved the first game. I still haven't finished Miles Morales, but I promise I will do that before Spider-Man 2 comes out.
How dare you?
I know, seriously. And I've had it since launch too, so it's
double. How dare you?
I know. But yeah, so I'm super excited for this. And again, like the information that they gave to us during the show, that like, Venom is not gonna be like Eddie Brock. That's super exciting, and like you said, we'll talk about that in another episode. But yeah, I'm super hyped for this game, and it's gonna suck for any other game that's coming out in October. Like Alan Wake is coming out in October, so that's gonna be really tough because it's like, do I want to play Spider-Man or do I want to play Alan Wake? Like,
yeah, you bring up a solid point. So October is absolutely stacked. So October the 12th, Assassin's Creed Mirage is coming out. October 13th, literally the next day, The Lords of the Fallen comes out, which is kind of like I don't know if it's a reboot or if it's a sequel. I don't know what the deal is with it, but it looks a lot better than it did the last time it released Lords of the Fallen. They added "the" in front of it to make it more official, I guess. It looks good. It's a Soulsborne, for people that don't know, but that comes out the day after. 4 days after that, which is the 17th, is Alan Wake 2. 3 days after Alan Wake 2 is Spider-Man 2 on the 20th. And then 5 days after that is Alone in the Dark, which is that David Harbour horror game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game that month is absolutely packed. There's no way we're gonna fit all these games in there, but we're gonna try. You know what I mean? We're gonna do our best.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of doing our best, this is where the showcase dipped, and I don't think that it was our best. Unfortunately for Jeff Keighley and company. Again, I know that these have to pay the bills, but unfortunately, the showcase took a hit, and this is where the showcase went from a potential 5 out of 5 showing to a 4 for me. Actually, initially a little bit lower, but reflecting and thinking about how many announcements of greatness there were, definitely overloads the lull that we had. And the main problem with the lull is just how much time we spent in the lull versus the games themselves.
Yeah.
It just threw the pacing off a little bit because the first hour was like game, dev, game, and it was great, right?
Nicolas Cage game.
Yeah, true, very true. But yeah, this is where we get to like the mobile games, the AA games, the updates on your live service stuff. So we'll go through these pretty quickly here. So we got Pow World, which is kind of like a Pokemon kind of game, I've been told by people. Early access in 2024.
I will say that is a game that probably won't be good, but I absolutely 110% will be playing it because it looks so stupid and fun.
It does. It really does look stupid, and it really does look fun. I'm surprised Nintendo is allowing it to happen, but
honestly.
So Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis is coming to mobile, I think. I can't remember. I think it's just a mobile thing. Mobile. But this led to one of the greatest parts of the showcase, in any showcase, and probably ever, honestly, because this was great. So they talked about Final Fantasy VII, right? And then Jeff goes, speaking of Final Fantasy VII, and the crowd pops because they're expecting Final Fantasy Rebirth to be in that moment. And he goes, no. And then he advertises a DoorDash promo for that day. And it was the best thing. Probably in the entire showcase. That was my favorite part because it got genuinely laughed out of me. Yeah, that was fantastic. But moving on from there, we got something called Banishers, Ghosts of Eden. Very small gameplay snippets, a lot of CG. It's a very pretty game. It says end of 2023, but that's... do you know anything about this game, Drew, or no?
I do not.
Huh?
Oh, could you hear me?
I just heard you go, ah.
Oh, I said I do not.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, yeah, perfect. I guess we'll have to wait to find out more. It is next gen only, which is interesting. So, actually, this is a Don't Nod game.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, I did not know that until I clicked on that picture. That's extremely interesting, actually.
Yeah.
For those who don't know who Don't Nod is, that's like Life is Strange. That's that developer. So, yeah, that kind of dwindles my hype in a way, because like those games are not my particular style, but I also don't think this looked like that. So
no, it definitely looked more like a full-on like action game.
Yeah, so we'll wait and see about that. That's interesting though. We'll keep an eye out for it for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of keeping eyes out, and I'm saying speaking of a lot, but transitions and stuff, you know what I mean? We got a lot of stuff to talk about here. Like a Dragon got a brand new game announced. Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. This is with a character from the Yakuza series, a fan favorite supposedly. I have not played enough Yakuza at all to have an opinion other than those games look right up my alley. And if it wasn't for the barrier of having them so many and like having them pretty lengthy in length as well, I would already be in this franchise, but I really need to just bite the bullet and do it because these games look phenomenal.
Yeah, and this new one looks incredible.
I mean, it's I'll have to go check. No, it is cross gen, so it is PS4 and Xbox One. I'm not sure how because the gameplay and game they shown is absolutely beautiful. Um, but that's exciting for people who haven't made the transition yet or couldn't get a hold of, a Series X or a PlayStation 5. But yeah, it's coming out November the 9th, 2023. Um, Good stuff. Yakuza is very cool. I feel like they're becoming a yearly franchise with all their spin-offs, but
Yeah.
they remain in quality, both in story and gameplay. So I mean, and they do like the thing now where like they're gonna be doing the one's probably the action game, the other one's the turn-based game. So
And then they also got the
um,
other spin-off series, Judgment.
yeah, but that's like I think that's just like a spiritual successor versus like characters from that game.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but if you're into Yakuza, like Vuk is, friend of the show, um, very good news. So from there, we go from Japan and into the water because this game is called Under the Waves. When it was showed yesterday, Drew says, "Look, it's the James Cameron simulator." Got a laugh out of me, pal. So
Very good.
yeah, this game looks very intriguing. It looks like a double A like um, ocean exploration game, and that could totally be off base. But from what they showed of it, that's what it looks like to me. It's called Under the Waves. It's out August 29th. It's on everything, last gen, current gen, PC, both sets of consoles. So I think this is a game that I'm going to keep an eye on because I think the prospect of the ocean is both terrifying and exciting, almost as exciting as space, but not quite.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got any thoughts about this one?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be keeping my eye on it too. I thought it looked really interesting. And it kind of seemed to be taking like a darker turn towards the end of the trailer, so I'm like really intrigued by that, and I want to learn more about it. So, yeah, this is like one of those indie games where I'm definitely gonna be keeping an eye on it. And hope that it's a solid game.
Perfect. Yep, same here. From here, we go into the live service aspect of it, I guess. Call of Duty Season 4. It says play free June 14th. I don't, isn't Warzone 2 already free?
That's very true.
That's weird. Anyways, I guess that's when this new season comes out, June 14th. So next Wednesday is when it comes out. So if you're a Call of Duty man or woman, or woman, you know what I mean?
Or just a Call of Duty fan.
Yeah, whatever. That's fair. I don't like saying Call of Duty fans. You know what I mean? Because who likes Call of Duty?
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
You know, I just buy it every year, but who likes it?
Yeah, same. Listen, I love Call of Duty, but if I say I'm a fan, then that puts a negative connotation on me. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Anyways, speaking of negative connotations, I want your opinion on this because I wasn't in the call for this, but the Porsche Series X, it's not for sale, but it's up for like a sweepstakes kind of ordeal.
Uh-huh.
What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, Xbox has done a lot of things like this in the past, so it like didn't surprise me at all. I thought the Xbox itself looked really cool, and it's one of the few like themed Series X's that they've done so far, so that was like really neat. But yeah, like it's for a market that I'm not like invested in, so I guess like that didn't really like do much for me, but I did think the design was really cool. I like the pinstripe kind of like race car theme design that they did. So, and I'm sure Forza fans are gonna be all about that, even though it's not related to Forza. But
Yeah, I probably should have introed that better. What it is it's a Porsche, like a 75th anniversary Porsche Series X that you can. I don't know how you win it, but you can somehow. It's very unique. Is there any other Series X's that came out that have themes?
What'd you say?
I can't think of a season one.
Uh oh yeah. There's been a few through
The
the
Halo one, right? No.
was there? Yes, actually yes, there was a Halo one. But there's been a few that are through so Xbox has like a reward service. Like there's an app for it. And like every dollar that you spend, you get like a certain percentage back on the Xbox and Microsoft store. Um, and they sometimes do sweepstakes on there for like different Series X's. So I think they did a Diablo one most recently, and there's been a few others on there. But yeah, like they don't have like any that they've ever like sold, I guess you could say, aside from the not Xbox, aside from the Halo one.
And the Halo one was great.
Yes, yeah.
I know that they did a Halo or not Halo Diablo bundle, but I've never seen the actual console, so that would be interesting to see.
Yeah.
But switching gears from there, sort of. This is the what I would personally subject as the worst part of the showcase. So we're gonna go rapid fire here. Fae Farm for Switch and PC.
I will say
Jeff
though,
Go
the
ahead.
Jeff comment with that game where he's like, "Yeah, see, we got variety here."
Yeah,
That was great.
yeah, he knew what he was doing.
Oh, for sure.
Some guy, Ben Brode, apparently, uh, chief development officer for Marvel Snap, came out, wanted you to download Marvel Snap. Mobile game, don't care.
I will
I know
say
there's a
Marvel Snap is super fun. Like if you are like into mobile games, like I usually never play mobile games, but anytime I'm like just kind of bored and like wanting something quick to do, it's a super fun game. It's Hearthstone, but even better, and it's got Marvel characters. This announcement was a huge misfire. The mode that they're coming out with is awesome, but like the way that they went about announcing it, like it didn't match with the rest of the show. And yeah, it just like felt like a little out of touch. But again, they probably just had to pay the bills, so
yeah, so if you want to know how bad that it was and how bad they missed the mark, I didn't even know what they were talking about. So
yeah.
I kind of zoned out because I'm not a mobile gamer. That's not my thing. But if Marvel Snap is your thing, then I don't think that the showcase helped you any capacity of selling you whatever they were trying to sell you. Speaking of things that are trying to unsell themselves, the Twisted Metal show showed up with a trailer that was awful, and that's it. It was Sweet Tooth beating up Anthony Mackie, not in a car, mind you, with cheesy dialogue. And a few of the people that were in the call, they were like, this is cheesy, but it looks fun. And I'm like, I completely disagree because I've been playing Twisted Metal since I was probably too young to be playing Twisted Metal. And this looks absolutely unbearable to me.
Yeah.
That said, I'm gonna watch it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's a Peacock show. We've talked about this before, but it just doesn't look good. If you want a cheesy bad show trailer to watch, go watch it. I wouldn't suggest it, but listen, I gave you the warning. All right, that's all I can do.
That's fair.
There's a game called Lisfanga. I'm gonna call it lasagna. It looks like, I don't know what it looks like. It looks like a bunch of colors and kind of like a cartoonish Diablo ripoff from the screenshots, because I don't remember this from the showcase at all again. And like I said, like this is where we hit a lull, and it was a lot of unrememberable things. And that leads us to the EA game that we've talked about, I think 2 or 3 times now, Immortals of Avium. The when we talked about this before, we always said that this game is too busy. It still looks too busy. But I was listening to Kind of Funny earlier, and Greg Miller from Kind of Funny was talking about it, and he was mentioning that he played the game, and the gameplay was fun, and the story was going in places that he thinks was interesting. Greg and I usually align pretty well in our tastes. Not always, but when it comes to these kind of games we do, so I'm willing to give it a shot. but I'm willing to give it a shot when it hits like EA Play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, any thoughts on what we've got? What we got shown there? Did it change anything for you?
Not really.
Yeah, that's what I figured. But something cool that is happening today, for I guess us now because we've been playing Fortnite more recently. This new season came out today. It's Transformers related, and that's what we're going to be doing after we finish the podcast. We're going to be squatting up and going to get some crowns and some dubs. So Fortnite Wilds is out today. It is season 3 of this current chapter, I believe. Chapter
Yes,
4,
correct.
right? That's right.
And we've got Optimus Prime. You can ride raptors, and you can ride on these vine rails. Oh yeah, baby! Fortnite's
Listen,
back.
I'm ever since they introduced no build, that was my selling point because the sweaty builds I can't
Yeah.
hang.
Yeah.
I'm both not that good and I'm both severely disinterested in that kind of game. So when it started doing that, I fell off and then came back periodically, but the no build has completely sold me back on the game.
For sure.
And that leads us to the last thing shown. And boy, was it good. So Jeff said multiple times that the last thing shown was going to be a wow thing, that it was going to, you weren't going to be expecting it and thinking about it. That's not necessarily true. I can't remember if we touched on this on the podcast or not last week, but Final Fantasy VII's Twitter, or Final Fantasy Twitter in general, has been teasing something every day. And it led up to yesterday at the showcase, and it said the last question is usually like a question and an answer, kind of like a vague thing that they were using as a fan thing, but it really wasn't. It was pretty generic questions.
Gotcha.
But they were like the last thing for yesterday, which was it was supposed to be like a 7-day thing. The last day was when do we hear about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? And they said soon. So that kind of put us in the mindset of like, hey, this is either going to be an Xbox or it's going to be here. So we knew it was going to be somewhere because they wouldn't have been teasing this for nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, we open with a great shot of Midgar on fire. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that because there's some stuff in here that I would consider spoilers for Remake. So if you haven't played Remake, please play Remake. If you're an Xbox fan, get a PlayStation and play Final Fantasy Remake. and look, I've gone on record on this podcast and saying that I like exclusives. But when you say that you're a timed exclusive and that you're coming to the other platform, go to the other platform.
Yeah.
And part of
That's
me,
so
like,
weird.
part of me thought that this was going to be announced at Xbox and be like Rebirth, early 2024, but Final Fantasy VII Remake available now. But nope, they said Xbox, we don't like you, and I
Crazy.
left. It's a phenomenal trailer though. It looks
Yes.
extraordinary.
The visual
next gen.
fidelity is
Go ahead.
ridiculous. Like
Oh, absolutely.
the environments and like just the amount of like grass and bushes and trees and just everything that you can imagine, the scale, it's insane.
It looks like a masterpiece just from
Yeah.
the trailer.
Yeah, and like one thing that I do want to touch on about the game, they announced, well, for one, they announced the release window, which we kind of mentioned before, early 2024.
Yep.
But they also announced that it's gonna be on 2 discs, which is the first time like anyone's done that in like over a decade, I feel like. So to me, that really tells me that this game is going to be massive. Like just absolutely massive. And especially from like the scale that we've seen in the trailer and everything. So I just want to like ask you real quick. They haven't like said anything about it. Do you think that this is going to be the final Fantasy VII remake? Or do you think that there's going to be another one? Because the fact that they're doing 2 discs for this tells me that there's going to be a lot of content in this game.
So 2 things. It's been more recent than that for the 2 discs. Red Dead was a 2 disc ordeal. rated
That
2.
is true. I forgot about that.
And Final Fantasy VII Remake was also 2 discs.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
But for the third part, I'm pretty sure they've already confirmed the third game is already called Reunion, I believe.
Okay.
But if the name's not confirmed, the third game is confirmed. Because if I've never played through the original Final Fantasy VII, I never beat it. But I know it's a massive game, and I know that the first game only covered Midgar, which is a very small portion of the first game.
Yeah.
So these next 2 games are going to be huge and massive in scale, and that's where the current gen hardware are going to come in. But yes, there's a third game confirmed, but they're also changing the story with these.
Yeah.
So we don't know exactly where this one's going to leave off and where it's going to go. I know from talking with a couple friends that are Final Fantasy nerds and 7 lovers, 7 and 7 Remake have very big different changes that can lead in different places. And even the trailer yesterday suggested something that didn't happen in the original that everyone's like, whoa, was it like a different timeline ordeal or what's happening? But I've talked myself into doing it. I'm gonna beat the first, or I guess the original Final Fantasy 7, and then I'm gonna do 7 Remake again, and then the I'm blanking on the name, something Crisis, the one that came out last year with Zach.
Crisis Core.
Thank you. And I'm gonna do that before Rebirth, because I want to be in the know of like what's different. I think that comparing them is super fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about where I'm at with it. Is that it's got me wanting to play that Final Fantasy 7 again, but Final Fantasy 16 is next week. So actually, no, 2 weeks. Sorry, 2 weeks from today. Matter of fact, or 2 weeks from yesterday. It's in 2 weeks. All right, guys, 2 weeks. So I'm getting my Final Fantasy itch scratched then.
Yeah.
But it took a lot in me not to start Final Fantasy 7 last night again. But then I remember Diablo, and then I just got on Diablo instead. So
yeah.
So that concludes the Summer Game Fest. Let us know what you thought about the Summer Game Fest and how it compared to Sony's PlayStation Showcase. Let us know what you thought about the game shown, how the pace of it, the presentation. Did you like the developers being on stage? Would you prefer just Jeff Keighley and announcing games? What is your preference? Let us know in the comments below. Tweet us at Casket Minds on Twitter, or hit us up on Facebook. We have a Facebook page now. Message us, comment, like, subscribe, do all the fun little stuff that is required to checkbox and let us know your thoughts. So from here, we're going to transition to the Xbox showcase, and this is everybody's favorite part, the predictions game. But before we get to the Xbox predictions, we have to go over our Summer Game Fest predictions. And we'll go through these quick because even with our tampered expectations, we still got everything wrong. So here we go. So Drew, we'll go with Drew first since he won the PlayStation Showcase, right? All right. So Drewby said Hazelight's next game was going to be there. That was a great pick and a great thought.
Yeah.
I still think that might be true, but that could happen at the Game Awards.
Yeah, I'm thinking
traditionally where he went.
Yeah, the Game Awards for sure.
Which we will be doing a podcast and probably a predictions episode for that as well.
Yeah.
But that's in December, so we got a little bit to go, you know what I mean? Christmas in June, as they say, for the gamers. But then Drewby went 2 things with Ubisoft, and Ubisoft was there, but it wasn't the way that Drewby thought it was. So he said the Avatar teaser for the Ubisoft Forward reveal, and then massive Star Wars game. Both things that I said that one of them would be here. I thought so, but Prince of Persia was here, so that's pretty cool because we got like a Metroidvania game,
for
and
sure.
we always welcome those. And to wrap up Drewby's last 2, he thought that we were going to get more information about the Transformers game, which is a good shout because Transformers Rise of the Beast just came out today, or I guess early showings last night, officially today.
Yeah.
So if you're a Transformers fan, that's out. And then he said that we were going to close with Grand Theft Auto 6. I said no way in hell, but listen, I like swinging for the fences. That's what we do here. And I would have said Rebirth was going to be here before the teasers. So Drewby gets no points. He didn't get anything right. And that becomes a theme here because the only thing I got right, and it's only via a technicality, I guess. We both agreed that I'll get half a point for this because I said Mortal Kombat 1 is going to be there, and I said that it was going to open the show. Unfortunately, it was the second thing there, so we decided to give myself half a point. And that's the only thing I got because I thought that at least two of these were going to be locks. That's why I locked them in, obviously. But yeah, it didn't happen that way. So I said that Cyberpunk 2077's DLC was going to be announced, or not announced. We know it's coming.
Yeah.
But I said the release date was going to be shown with like Idris Elba coming out and talking. That was not here at all.
Yes.
However, the price point did leak.
Yeah.
I don't think the date leaked, but the price point did.
Also, Jeff Keighley said that the trailer is going to be coming out on Sunday.
He said Sunday?
Yes.
Oh, so that's pretty much confirming that's probably going to be at Microsoft.
Yes, yeah.
And if it sticks with tradition, Keanu Reeves came out to announce his character in Cyberpunk at Xbox's showcase, so Idris Elba will probably do the same. And yeah, that'll work. So that's probably Sunday's ordeal. EA was there, but it was for that Immortals game again versus Dragon Age, which was my prediction. No Dragon Age, which is kind of both good and bad. I want to see what Dragon Age is, but at the same time, I feel like they're not going to show Dragon Age until Dragon Age is about to come out, which is good.
Yeah. Maybe they'll show it at the Game Awards because they've done Dragon Age stuff at the Game Awards before, so.
100%. I think that's where they announced the Dreadwolf, right?
Yep.
Sweet. I said Sony's involvement in this would be Demon Souls PC port. Not it. They were there with Spider-Man release date instead, which I would much prefer. So, and I said that to close out the show, that Elden Ring DLC would be the big stay. I'm glad it wasn't, but at the same time, I would have liked the DLC. But, I'm going to allow it because it was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. All right, Drewby. Since I won this Summer Game Fest, last time I let you pick who decided when to go, and I think you chose yourself. So I'll stick with tradition and I'll go first for this one.
Yeah, dude.
So this is the official Xbox predictions of the Casket Minds podcast. My first pick, Drewby. We open the show with Hellblade 2. We get gameplay that ends in a CG trailer, and at the end of the trailer is a release window of early 2024.
Please be true. Please be real.
I think that it's time. They've been teasing it since 2020 with the Series X. It's time to not only see that game, but for that game to be done. It's the next marquee IP for Xbox because they bought Ninja Theory after they made Hellblade 1.
Yep.
So now it is time to see Xbox's imprint on that game.
And Ninja Theory is also working on like 2 other projects for Xbox too. So.
Yep. It's time to see what Ninja Theory's been up to.
Absolutely.
All right, Drewby, hit me with your opener. What do you think is going to open the show?
So I almost picked Hellblade 2 for my opener. But I actually decided to go with something different. I think that the show is going to open with Forza Motorsport.
Ooh, okay.
We're going to get a gameplay demo, show off the cover art, get a release date, and say, hey, you can not play the full game today, but like, hey, you can maybe play the game today, or maybe like play it sometime very soon, in like some sort of like tech test or something along those lines.
Yep, I think that that's very plausible and realistic. I think that will happen. The only thing that would hold it back from that is I don't know if it's ever opened an Xbox show, and they usually do the stupid thing where they bring out the car or have the car on stage, and they usually make a ordeal about the car. So that's the only reason I wouldn't put it first. But I think that every single thing about that is going to be real, even down to the playtest. And if it's not even a playtest, it could just be like a demo or something.
Yeah,
But it's going to be playable in some way, I believe.
for
And
sure.
it could open the show. I just hope that if they ditch the car gimmick, which they should have a long time ago,
Yeah.
then yeah, I think that's very plausible. Okay, so I'm gonna go with my next lock, and I think that it's gonna be there. I think it's gonna be the middle of the show. Um, I don't know how long the Starfield Direct is. I imagine the showcase is an hour and 30, so 90 minutes.
Yeah, I think
And
you're
then
right. It was an
and then
hour and 30 minutes last year, so I think that would make
that's
sense.
usually what it is for Xbox is an hour and a half, and
Yeah.
then 30 minutes of Starfield. So about the 45-minute mark, middle of the show, somewhere between 35 to 55. All right.
All right.
We're gonna see Avowed. It's gonna be gameplay. It's gonna be it'll say 2024 on it. I don't know where, if it says anything else, but it'll have 2024 at the end of the gameplay trailer. I don't think we're gonna get super details on it, but I do think that we're gonna get an extensive gameplay, at least like 3.5 to 5 minutes worth of pure gameplay of Avowed with the 2024 release window.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
I almost
definitely
put that as my opener, by the way.
Yeah, I could
Almost.
honestly see that as an opener too. I think like any of the three, like those two and then Avowed could open the show. Because
Agreed.
those are three games we know that are coming, and I feel like they're gonna start the show with a game that we know is on the way.
100%.
So yeah, definitely I could see any of those. Yeah, I definitely agree though. We are gonna see Avowed. It's been many years now. They've teased it for a long time. It is time to see what that game is all about. And shout out back to the Kind of Funny podcast, specifically the Xcast. They were talking about, how we've got Starfield coming out, and then we'll have a few more years until like the next Elder Scrolls, right?
Yep.
So they're gonna need to fill that void of waiting for the next Elder Scrolls game, and what better way to do it than get Avowed out there within the next year or so? And I really feel confident that we're getting that.
Yeah, so as a little shout out from there, when Phil Spencer did the interview with Kind of Funny about Redfall and like the state of Xbox at that time, he said that he played multiple builds that were in good shape for Avowed.
Really?
And for reference, Avowed was announced at Xbox's showcase in 2020. So it's been 4 years.
Yeah.
Since the announcement, of which they showed like a small snippet of gameplay. That game is close to done, and I think that with Obsidian doesn't really miss the mark. And I know that we said that about Arcane as well before Redfall, but this is kind of their bread and butter, the single player fantasy RPG-ish kind of deal. They're gonna come out swinging on Sunday, I believe, and I think everyone's gonna walk away wowed because it's been so long since we've gotten that Skyrim fix.
Yeah.
Or like that Fallout fix. And I know that Starfield's going to be there, but this is different. You know what I mean? This is the sword, the magic, like Skyrim. It's been 12 years since Skyrim.
Yeah.
And Obsidian did New Vegas, and that's everyone's favorite Fallout, except for mine, because mine's 3. But I just want to throw in that caveat there, just to let the real ones know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's time for Avowed, and I think that the gameplay is going to stun us.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Obsidian is awesome, and they've made some of the best RPGs. I mean, freaking Fallout New Vegas. So yeah, I'm super excited, and this is gonna be like a little different for Obsidian too, because they haven't really done fantasy before. So really hyped to see what they got in store. So for my first lock, I'm gonna go with Everwild. Everwild was announced all the way back in 2019.
Jeez.
And then I think it was sometime during 2020, the creative director left. For those of you who don't know, this is a game being developed by Rare. This will be Rare's first new IP since Sea of Thieves, which Sea of Thieves came out in like 2016 or something like that. So it's been a long
Yeah,
while.
that's right.
So yeah, so Everwild, all we really know about it before is that it was a third-person adventure game. After the departure of their creative director, they basically completely rebooted development. So what we're gonna see with this game coming next is gonna be pretty different from what we've seen before. So I'm expecting a lot of the game, in terms of its maybe art style and like gameplay, to be drastically different. But we do know that it's coming. It's been in development for quite a few years now, and last that we heard of it is that they were targeting for a 2024 release. So I think we're gonna get a little gameplay snippet, a little bit of in-game footage, and some like in-engine / cutscene kind of stuff, and then we'll get a release window for 2024. Whether that's like a summer, spring, fall, or just 2024, I don't know, but it's definitely gonna be coming out in 2024, I think.
Yeah, that feels like a spring game.
Sure.
If I had to guess their release schedule, I would assume that it's Starfield, Forza, Hellblade, Everwild, Avowed, and then a game that I'm not going to tell you until later that I think is going to be their fall game.
All right. Also, I one more thing I wanted to say,
Okay.
which this is gonna be a running theme with a lot of our picks. Hellblade is being developed on Unreal Engine 5.
Yes.
Everwild is being developed on Unreal Engine 5, and there's some other picks that I have for later that are gonna be on Unreal Engine 5. So I just wanted to get that out real quick.
You just gave me your hand. Luckily, I don't have that on mine though. So
Actually, I don't know. I don't think you. I don't think you'll.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think you'll know what some of mine are.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. I appreciate that. When we were reading through the former picks, and you were talking about the Transformer ones, made me debate this one. But it's been 2 years now since they announced it, and I think that it's time for a little bit, even if it's not straight up gameplay. I think that they can do it Sony style. I think that we're gonna see Indiana Jones tomorrow from Machine Games.
Really?
I think that we're like 3 weeks away from the new Indy movie. It's been 2 years since they announced it. They probably had the licensing prior to that. They were probably in pre-production then. They probably got their foot in the door, and I don't think that Indy will come out no later than 2025. So it'll come out within the next probably 2 years. So I think that now would be a good time to be like, hey, this is how far we are with Indiana Jones. This is the time period. This is what the premise is. And then the next time we see it, it'll be raw gameplay. It's kind of like Sony do for Uncharted, doing the CG. Then the next time they show it, it's the gameplay. I think that's the route they're going to go.
All right.
But I do have written down, I say, it's not going to say any date or window. It's just going to be in-game footage of Indiana Jones, probably CG, but not like a full CG, like an in footage, like, hey, this is what happens, and then you go straight to the gameplay kind of deal.
We should also, like, speaking of that, we should have prefaced before we got into these predictions. Aaron Greenwood, I think is his name.
Greenberg.
Yeah, that's right. I was like mixing it up for some reason. He said that all of the first party titles that they're showing at the Xbox Showcase are going to be in-engine, in-game, or in-game cutscenes. There's going to be no CGI trailers for them, which is awesome. That's like great news. So yeah, dude, I would flip out if we got to see Machine Games Indiana Jones game. Because like whenever they announced that, I was like, dude, who better to develop an Indiana Jones game than the devs who made Wolfenstein, where you're freaking just absolutely destroying Nazis. I want that kind of gameplay in an Indiana Jones game. So super hype, and I'm also a massive Indiana Jones fan. So
Let me whip a few Nazis. That's all I'm asking.
exactly,
You know what I mean?
exactly, dude.
And actually, so this isn't one of my picks, but it almost was my fourth one.
Uh,
I went a little bit different in direction, but I was gonna say that Machine Games also shows us Wolfenstein 3, but I
dude,
changed it.
that
Because
would be
I think they're a
insane.
good enough studio, and I think they're big enough where like they can go off and make two projects.
Definitely.
Um, and I think that they do want to do a trilogy. I think that they haven't announced that, but I feel like that studio does. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that it would be a nice for the character of BJ to do all like that. So
It'd also be nice for me because those games are awesome.
yeah, I love Wolfensteins.
um, so yeah, I guess that'll bring me to my next pick. Um, so this one, uh, I don't know, might be a little unexpected, but in the many game studios or game developers that Microsoft picked up, Compulsion Games was one of them. Their last game released in 2018. It's called We Happy Few. Um, Before that, they had another game. I'm blanking on the name. I'm gonna go double check real quick. It's called Contrast. They have like a
Mm-hmm.
very like Tim Burton esque, like Coraline esque art style to their games. Uh, they've been working on a game probably since We Happy Few came out back in 2018. So it's been a long while since we've heard anything about them. Back in 2021, it was rumored that they're working on a like dark fantasy game, a single player title. Um, so I think we're gonna get some sort of like in-engine footage for the next game slated for 2024. It's probably going to be a smaller scale game, which I think is great. I think Xbox is in a position to have a lot of that variety where they've got, you know, smaller games, they've got like kind of the in-between AA games, and then they've got like the massive AAA games, and then supposedly they have their quadruple A games that they mentioned like a few years back, which is Perfect Dark, which it's in development hell, which is unfortunate, or at least that's what we've last heard. But yeah, I think it's time for Compulsion to show what they've got cooking up, and I'm really interested to see like kind of what these smaller dev studios that they've picked up are working on. So I definitely think that this is gonna be shown tomorrow or on Sunday, which would be super exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I remember when Way Happy Few was announced and shown a few years ago. I think that was at the Xbox Showcase before they got acquired by them.
Yeah,
Um, I never played that game, but I've always wanted to, and I still need to, and I still want to. But that game spoke to me very much so. Like that was one of the games of the showcase that I was like, huh, that was the game that stuck with me.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, maybe I'll do that before or after the showcase, just for like a little teaser. You know what I mean? To get a little pump for the showcase, if that's even possible. I'm very excited for Xbox to showcase,
for sure.
and I hope they blow us out of the water. And I almost expect them to, but tempered expectations still because
Yeah.
I don't want to be disappointed. Uh, and speaking of things that would not disappoint me, Drewby, this was my last pick that I locked in for myself, and I was looking at the timeline right before we were recording, and it matches up to what I thought and what I hope. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2016, there was a little game called Doom, and Doom got remade. Uh, it got rebooted, a new story. It came out, great game, right? 2018 rolls around. There's this little game called Doom Eternal. It was announced in 2020, right before the world went to hell. Um, we went to hell in Doom Eternal. It is now 2023. I think that at Xbox Showcase 2023, we are going to get the official announcement of whatever Doom 3 is going to be. And I don't know what that necessarily entails. I don't know what the name will be. I don't even know if it's truly going to be there, but in my gut and realistically with timelines, it lines up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it. Doom 3 is announced. Some gameplay is shown, but it's a not pure gameplay. It's got some, it's got to have the heavy metal music with some over, like, like the tracking drone shots type ordeal.
Yes, yeah.
They'll do like that kind of ordeal, in-game footage of Doom 3. It'll get titled, but it will not get a release window or date.
Dang. Dude, yeah. I honestly didn't even think about Doom because it hasn't really said anything in a while. They've been
They've
working.
been quiet, man.
Yeah, they've been working on something. So, and Doom Eternal. I mean, like both 2016 and Doom Eternal, especially Eternal, were smash hits. So,
Yep.
yeah, man, that would be really exciting. It's also worth mentioning. We've got QuakeCon and stuff like that. Like Bethesda has their own like showcases every year. So some of these games, like I don't know, yeah, maybe we will get announcements for them, and then we'll get like a full gameplay demo and maybe release dates like at the end of the year if they're doing a QuakeCon this year. That would be really exciting. So yeah,
Agreed.
dude, I again like yeah, if Machine Games and id came out during the Xbox showcase, that would be insane. Um, so yeah, my third pick, um, this is another studio that has been quiet for a while. Their last game, Gears 5, came out in 2019.
Mm.
Um, Gears 5 ended with a cliffhanger. That story needs to be continued. It's a great game. Um, and Gears is one of those flagship titles for Microsoft. Um, and then even was it last year? I think. What's it called? Collision released an Unreal Engine 5 like tech demo thing.
Yeah, the Matrix one.
No, not the Matrix one. There was a it was like a gameplay trailer for like just an unknown game. Like it wasn't even like a game that exists, but it was reminiscent of Gears of War, but it was a little bit different, right?
Okay.
And it was just like to show off like what they can do with Unreal Engine 5. And so to me that tells me that they've been working on a game in Unreal Engine 5 for a while. And while I do definitely think that they're working on a new IP, I think that we're going to get Gear 6 first. That just
Hmm.
makes sense. I think that they're going to want to cap out that trilogy because, again, Gears 5 ended on a cliffhanger. It needs to be continued and it needs to be like finished off, I think. And yeah, so I think that we're going to get a little like gameplay kind of trailer. Again, not like a full on gameplay demo with a release window for fall 2024. Because
Okay.
that'll be what like
5 years.
yeah 5 years since Gears 5. So I don't know. I think it's time. I think they've been working on something for a while, and we already know that Collision, like the devs of Gears, have always worked on Unreal Engine. That's what every Gears of War game is on. And they have a lot of experience with it. They have a lot of like partnerships with Epic Games. So I really feel like they've got something cooking that's on the horizon.
You know, that is a great pick. And I want that to happen, but I don't know if it's time for Gears yet. And I say that for one reason and one reason only. But I'll have to tell you about it right now.
All right.
So I just realized we're at the closer, so that's why I thought I had one more pick in me, but I don't.
No.
My long shot involves Gears, but we'll get back to that in a second. All right.
Yeah.
So the reason I don't think Gears is ready for prime time is because I don't think Xbox is going to do like the E3 that Sony did, and they were like, here is everything we have, right? I think Xbox wants to show a lot but not everything, and I think Gears is almost as big as Halo in terms of like how important it is to them.
For sure.
Uh, and I think that everything that they're showing this year, um, they came out and they said the thing about like everything's gonna be gameplay and in-game footage, and it's not gonna be all CG, and like so
Yeah.
it's you're gonna see a version of the product that you're probably gonna get to play, right? Um, and for that reason, I think that, and they also said that they're ditching that the thing they did last year. They were like, everything that you're showing here is coming out in the next 12 months, right? The next year.
Yeah.
They're dropping that. And while I do think they're going to be true to that, I think that they're still going to hold their guns closer to their chest. And the reason I say that is because Xbox has been teasing, man. On Twitter the other day, they had a teaser for the showcase.
Yeah.
And they went through a house, and through the house was a glitter trail. And it led all the way up, like upstairs, and it got to there, and it was teasing the Xbox showcase. And over that video was a small tweak to the Fable theme from Fable 1.
Hmm.
The So when you go to your main objectives in the original Fable were highlighted via like dust, like sparkly trail, right? Glitter,
Yeah.
essentially. And it can't be coincidental that they're teasing the music and the trail to the showcase for no reason. So
Yeah.
this is my last pick, Derby.
All right. Your
We
closer.
are seeing Playground Games version of Fable with gameplay, and that is what's going to be our fall 2024 release. So essentially, I think that not only is it time for Fable, right?
Yeah.
Because that was also announced in 2020 along with Avowed. So the thing that we've been looking forward to, that we knew that Xbox was doing, 4 years later, or 3 years later rather, we're finally going to get to see what that is. I think that not only is it time for Fable to have its time in the sun again, I think it's time for it to become a marquee title for Xbox again. We didn't get a Fable last generation. They were trying to do something different with it, ended up canceling it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that right now Xbox is like, we need to bring either back IP or we need to make IP, right? I think that it's time to get off the crutches of Gears and Halo, and I think that this is the perfect showcase for that. And then they can come out next year and be like, here's Gears, here's Halo, whatever that may be, like whatever the next big thing for Infinite is. Because I don't even know if Infinite's going to get much time at this showcase. I'm sure it'll get a little bit, but maybe not like
They'll do
a significant amount.
They'll do a quick trailer for the next season, which is coming out really soon.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'll get it. I'll get more into Halo in a little bit.
Oh, okay. But yeah, that's what I think is gonna happen. So like, just to recap my thought process here for my picks is that I think Starfield's next, Forza is our fall game, January, February, likely February, because I feel like Hellblade just fits there for some reason. Hellblade in February 2024. Then like Aprilish we get Everwild. Summer we get Avowed. And then fall we'll get Fable.
All right.
And that's like a constant like banger, banger, banger for Xbox, and that's something that they need.
Yeah, for sure. Um. All right. Well.
What do you close us with, Drewby?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna do Fable for my closer, so I'm gonna need to take a second to think.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Do you need me to do my long shot while you think, or no?
Uh. give me your long shot real quick.
All right. So the reason I say that is it's not to bail you out. It's because that your last pick ties into my long shot. My long shot uh, deals with Gears, but it's not the way that you deal with Gears. It's been heavily rumored the last couple of years that we're getting a Marcus Phoenix collection of Gears 1 through 3 on Unreal Engine 5. I think that we get that announced. Um, I don't think that that's like a big like you could open with that for sure, but I don't think you close with that.
Yeah.
So I think that if that's real, I think that could come in and fill in like a September next year before like the October of that or Fable or November Fable. And it gets you back into the Gears mindset, gets you back into the Phoenix mindset, for it to come out and Gear 6 to be like the hit that they want it to be, right?
Yeah.
Because that's going to end the next trilogy, Gear 6, essentially. So, um, and the without spoiling anything, the Gears 4 and 5 from Coalition also deal with Marcus in a way. So, that's all I'll say. But yeah, I think it's time for Gears, but I don't know if it's time for Gears 6. But
All right.
who knows?
Yeah.
I want that to be true because I want to replay those games in the best way I can.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Well, okay, so I can do a few things for my closer, right?
Yeah.
First off, I was gonna ask, would I be able to pick one of your picks, but have it as the closer instead?
Yes.
Because I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna do that then because the other one I'm not like feeling confident about.
Yeah, because like for instance, if you would have said like Avowed opened it versus like Hellblade, I would have been like, that's fair.
Yeah,
But I think that that's like a middle of the pack, so you get like more time with it. I think.
yeah. So I think that we're gonna close with Hellblade.
Nice.
Um, I mean, like I definitely could see it opening, but I think that would be a nice little surprise, you know, like to end it with a release date that's on the horizon. I think that would be a
Yeah.
great way to like end the show. That way, like it's something to get the fans excited, to get Xbox fans excited, to get Hellblade fans excited because it'll be coming out soon. And it's also, I feel like, the perfect transition into the Starfield showcase because this is a game that already has an established fan base. This is a game that people are already excited for, and Starfield won't overshadow it, you know? So
Yeah.
I think that we're going to get our closer with Hellblade. Pretty much like the same thing that you kind of said, gameplay, quick trailer, and then release date. And I think that we'll get a firm release date and not just a release window for like early 2024. So like maybe like January or February. So yeah, I think that's what's gonna close it. And then I guess I'll get into my long shot. I mentioned Halo a second ago. I think that we're gonna, I don't know, like it's a possibility. My long shot is also a long shot though, but a few years ago, it was rumored from data miners that a battle royale for Halo is on the horizon. That's being developed. Last year, Jason Schreier did some investigative journalism on 343 Industries and just everything that kind of went on with the development of Halo Infinite. And he also talked about Certain Affinity. So Certain Affinity is led by one of the original Halo developers, and Certain Affinity has been partners with Halo for a really long time now. They've worked on multiple Halo projects with 343. And Jason Schreier said that Certain Affinity was actually like working, so it's called Project Tatanka or Halo Tatanka. That's the code name. Jason Schreier said that Certain Affinity has been working on a Halo Battle Royale, but that it's no longer just that. it's grown into something more. It's grown into an entirely separate game that's multiplayer focused, that's being developed in Unreal Engine. Because part of his investigative journalism story was finding out that the current engine that they have for Halo was really hard to work on. That's part of the reason why Halo Infinite had so many development troubles. Um, and so it seems like Xbox, not only for just a few of the games, but for a lot of their games, are kind of pivoting to using Unreal Engine 5. Um, and so it would be really different to see, this completely new engine for a Halo game, but I think it's something that might be necessary moving forward to help the development of the game so that they can get these like massive Halo games out there sooner. Um, and also to future proof them. Um, so, I think we could potentially see a like quick little gameplay kind of in-engine thing showing off what they've been working on in Unreal Engine, and then giving a release window for summer next year. Um, Again, like, that's a long shot. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but I definitely think that something good needs to happen for Halo at this showcase, because Halo Infinite, it's a good game, had a great campaign that ended on a cliffhanger that needs to be continued, which is the running theme for a lot of these Xbox titles. Um,
Got to milk
but
the sequels because we don't got much else right now.
exactly. Um, it needs the story needs to be continued. But it's not time for that yet, obviously. And then Halo Infinite has had a rocky post-launch like content drip, where like a lot of the content was coming out really slowly because they were working on other things to get out there that fans were really wanting. So and while we'll get a quick trailer for probably for the next season of Halo Infinite, I think there needs to be something else Halo related at the showcase, because this is the Xbox title. Halo is the face of Xbox.
Yep.
And that I know that Phil Spencer and everyone else at Xbox doesn't want Halo to have a bad reputation or to just be forgotten about. So I really feel like that there's a possibility that we might see something related to this certain Affinity Halo project.
That would be really rad. I'm looking forward to seeing what that is. And I was actually thinking about this the other day. About we last episode, or maybe it wasn't last episode, maybe it was the PlayStation reaction episode. We were talking about PlayStation shifting into the multiplayer realm,
Yeah.
and how they were really leaning into the extraction shooter.
Mm-hmm.
I think the extraction shooter could work really well in the Halo universe.
Absolutely.
You take a team like ODST and you go in and you do like strikes and missions and stuff.
Yeah.
And I know that's very similar to what Bungie's doing with Destiny and whatnot, but um, regardless, Halo could really fit that perfectly. Have a strike team that you go in and make that a story in itself in the Halo universe that doesn't require Chief. It just requires these Spartans that are elite, that are just off doing their own thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the possibilities the other day. And I was like, man, I would absolutely adore that.
Yeah, and it would be awesome to see Halo branch out a little bit, dive into other genres. Because again, it's the flagship title, and I think they need to do more Halo. They need to do more than just the mainline games. We've had Halo Wars, which is cool. We've had ODST before. We need more stuff like ODST. We need a third-person game in Halo. We need we absolutely need a horror game in Halo.
That would be phenomenal.
So, yeah, I don't know. I that's something that I would love to see, and that's something that I'm really hoping for.
You can make a Dead Space-like game with the Flood out of with just that.
That would be incredible.
I was just thinking though when you were talking about that, and I was like, when you mentioned Halo Wars, I was like, Gears is really doing the Halo thing, huh? Like they're really on the same course. When they got ODST, Gears got Judgment a little bit after. Halo got Halo Wars, Gears got Gears Tactics.
Yeah.
We got all the way up to Gears 5, and then the next Gears might not be called Gears 6. It could be like Gears
Infinite.
Whatever, the Infinite. But like it's just really funny to see that parallel of them
No,
both
for
being the
sure.
flagships for Halo, them both being shooters, granted one's first, one's third, but they really went through uh similar paths.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what most excites me for this showcase. And I even before Sony's, well, maybe not before Sony's. This is probably coming from hindsight alone. But I'm really stoked for Xbox because I loved Xbox before I truly loved PlayStation. The original Xbox always has a special place in my heart, as well as the 360. All
Yeah.
like 5 to 7 of them I had because of the Red Ring of Death. But man, I would love just to see Xbox come out Sunday and kill it and just release banger after banger. Um, because that's what the fans both deserve and need
Yeah.
is competition. Um, heartbreak after heartbreak can only last for so long. I know
Yeah.
people love Infinite, but like it's still launched without like Forge, and like there's still maps in the rotation for Infinite that were there at launch that haven't been replaced yet with new maps or older content like legacy content, and it's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's heartbreaking. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I know that's a silly thing to say for video games, but at the same time, it's like I remember when I was a kid and wanting new content. Like, we're in a different age now where like DLC is the norm, and
Yeah.
like these live service games are getting updated every 3 months. You know what I mean? Some are getting massive maps and updates and tweaks, and that's not to say Halo's doing nothing. It's just that the competition's doing things differently and arguably better. So
Yes.
um yeah, that's all I'd say about the Halo thing. But yeah, I think between the both of us, I think that we both have both hype picks and expect or like realistic
Realistic. Yeah.
expectations. Um so yeah, we're both very much looking forward to this. Drew is my Xbot. I'm a closet Xbox because I'm the pony here.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, so that is the predictions portion of the podcast. I know we're going long, but luckily for you and us, I guess, there isn't a ton of news stories this week. Um, but luckily, we've rounded them up and we're going to give them to you. Starting out with something that probably would have been one of our predictions had it not leaked.
Yeah.
Uh, so there's been heavy rumors from Atlas that there was a Persona 3 remake. Um, we have a friend who's very much into Persona, like very much into Persona. And he didn't watch the trailer, but obviously it's hard not to see the news when you're in the space of gaming. Because Twitter's a thing, we
Yeah.
when something leaks, everyone flogs to it. But he wants to wait for the showcase to see the trailer, and I respect that. And if you do too, then I guess just skip ahead from this. But Persona 3 got leaked. It's called Persona 3 Reloaded. It is coming to Game Pass day one, and it also has an early 2024 release date. Along with that leak, Atlas also leaked this via Instagram. By the way, it's Persona 5 spinoff. It's like
A tactics
some
game.
yeah, and it looks like the T stands for tactics. It's P5T, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to like the Mario plus Rabbids games. Very similar to that. But yeah, if you don't want to see anything before the showcase, I would suggest waiting because it is hype. If we are the ones breaking the news, I apologize if you didn't want to know it. But at the same time, that's what we do. We have to tell the news. So yeah, if you want to watch the thing, it's over the internet. You can find it anywhere.
Yeah.
But if not, it's just 2 days away. I watched the trailer myself. It looks phenomenal. Um, cannot wait. Absolutely cannot wait. What are your thoughts, Dribby?
Yeah. I really enjoyed Persona 4. Haven't finished Persona 5 because it's a massive game. And a huge time sink. But
Yes.
they're really awesome JRPGs. And yeah, this is really exciting. I just think it's super awesome that Xbox has this partnership with Atlas. And it seems like they're doing a lot more with like wanting to partner with these Japanese studios, which I think is great. Adds a lot of diversity to their gaming lineup and everything. So yeah, super exciting stuff.
Agreed. Persona is a great series. If you haven't gotten into it, I would highly recommend it. And this is from someone who's not super big into anime, um, but very, very, very good stuff. I never beat Persona 5, but I got like halfway through it, I believe, like 60-ish some hours, and fell off due to other games in life. And that's just the way it goes sometimes. But I think
Yeah.
about that game almost every single day, to be honest with you. And that soundtrack is God tier, S
No.
tier, whatever they have, whatever your highest tier is, that's what it's at.
Yeah.
And that's just Persona in general. But Persona 5 is chef's kiss. Um, Moving on to story number 2. It is the year of the fighter, 2023. The fighting gods have given us everything we wanted. Street Fighter 2 came out. It's so good, according to everyone but me. But you don't have to take my word for it because literally everyone else says that. 92 on Meta and OpenCritic. Drewby's played it, loves it. Everyone that I know that's played it loves it. Mortal Kombat 1 shown at the Summer Game Fest. Make a little tie back there. But this is the news, so this is what we're going to tell you. Tekken Network Test is July 21st to the 24th, and also July 28th to the 31st, which I would assume those are weekends.
Yes.
16 characters in 5 stages. It's giving you a weekend, two weekends to get in, play the game, get out, test Tekken, test their servers, I would assume, try the game. Yeah, this is great. I love that there's so many developers doing this now, so
Yeah.
that when the game comes out, it's ready and close to perfect as can be.
For sure. Especially with like
So
a fighting game that like requires like the best possible like lowest amount of latency that you can have. Like
yep,
that's the type of game that needs to be tested.
yep, and I'm super happy about it. I mean, 16 characters. That's a lot more
Yeah.
than I would expect.
For a tech test,
Fine.
that's insane.
Yeah, I mean that's fantastic stuff. It shows that they're confident in their game,
Absolutely.
and there's no reason not to be because Tekken is a great series.
Yes.
Um, But yeah, just two quick little things from here. Starfield editions and pricing have leaked. This is from over at Insider Gaming. It's pretty typical stuff as you would expect in the video game industry nowadays. There's the standard edition, um, $70. There's a premium edition which would probably include DLC or something. That part did not leak, unfortunately, but you would have to assume the $100 edition is usually some kind of incentive, maybe some skins or whatnot.
Yeah.
Uh, and then there's a Constellation edition, um, which this is written in either euros or pounds. I think this is euros. It's 300 euros, whichever how much that is in um, American dollars. Let me see. Yeah, it's like $320 for the collector's edition. There is pictures of what it is. If you guys want to know, continue listening. If not, skip ahead about 15 seconds because I'm going to say what it is in case people want to know. Uh, what it is it seems to be this version of a Vault Boy. It's like a smartwatch kind of ordeal with like the UI / HUD. So yeah, it looks interesting. I'm assuming we'll find out more Sunday after the Starfield showcase. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's coming with pricing and additions leaking. That pretty much means that September is going to be the date that we're
Yeah.
expecting. And yeah, that's very cool stuff. So last little news story here. It's also from Insider Gaming. So they're over at Ubisoft. They're doing these dev diaries for Assassin's Creed Mirage. Of course, with it, we made a joke about this earlier, but yeah, Ubisoft once again gets another leak, and it's Assassin's Creed, and water is wet. So it's basically just saying that they're going over how Mirage is going back to its roots, and it kind of explains more about that and showcases it. There's a video online if you guys want to do that. If you guys want to wait, it's also going to be out Monday with the Ubisoft Forward. So yeah, Assassin's Creed's going back to its roots. Going to be great. Very excited for that. Unfortunately, it's a week before Spider-Man, so
gonna have to play a lot of that Assassin's Creed before then.
Oh my god! But Alan Wake is 5 days after it too, so
Oh
it's
my
like
word.
it's insane, dude. October is going to be absolutely nuts.
This whole year has been stacked.
Yeah, I'm almost wanting nothing to come out next year so I can catch up on everything this year.
Unfortunately, we already know a lot is coming out next year too. So
yeah, I know it's if like half of the stuff that we've already predicted for the showcase comes true, like
my word.
Yeah, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's gonna wrap it up for us here at the Casket Minds podcast. So once again, thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Casket Minds podcast and stay up to date with us on the latest gaming news and more. And we'll see you guys next week.